Rob, I promise this, though.
And I do want to hear this because I'm shocked.
It's inflammatory. It's inflammatory.
It's defamatory?
Inflammatory.
Okay.
I don't know if it's defamatory. It's not like we're going to end up in court here.
Right.
It's just one guy's opinion. You know who Bill Spooner is. You probably have a poster on your wall.
I might.
Bill Spooner.
One of the greats to ever blow the whistle.
Okay. 32 years as an NBA ref. Now retired. And he spoke to The Athletic. And, you know the whole thing with Chris Paul and Scott Foster.
Oh, I got a Scott Foster poster.
Oh, you sure do.
Over the bed.
Didn't Scott did last night, right?
Probably.
I think Scott did last night.
I'm sure he did one of them. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's widely considered among the league sources to be the best official.
He should be in jail.
Whatever.
He should be in jail, and you know that he should be in jail.
Now that's defamatory.
It's not inflammatory.
It's defamatory.
It's not defamatory.
Anyway.
It's facts.
It's hearsay.
You can't call Tim Donaghy
they're
47 times in one night and tell me that they're friends.
If he goes down, then Shohei Ohtani goes down.
Fine by me. He's a Dodger.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Ippei Mizuhara, the fall guy.
Don't threaten me with Dodgers going down. I'm fine with it.
Sergio Romo dropping a Todd Hollandsworth. Didn't see that coming.
Dude, what you did see, though, I got uncomfortable.
You did.
My shoulders got tight.
I love the story,
though.
though.
Off 8 straight Dodgers. I'm going to get uncomfortable.
When he talked about his grandpa and being a kid from Brawley, that had to touch you a little bit. As a man who loves his parents, and I'm sure you loved your grandparents, I'm assuming they're not still with us.
They're not still with us, and I did love them, and I had a wonderful relationship with them.
Right.
But if you're saying that I was touched by a story about a man and his Dodger fan dad, no.
His grandpa?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, it's awful.
Whatever, you're cold-hearted.
Never should have happened.
Kid from Brawley.
Never should have happened.
And then the part about Rudy Cianis.
If Sergio Romo was a real Giant, he'd have looked at his granddad and said, change your dream.
You're so evil. Hey, Grandpa, change your dream. I know that I grew up listening to Vin, and you want Vin to say my name as a Dodger.
Vin's a Giants fan.
Yeah, he was.
Giants fan. A great Giants fan. Okay? Will Clark up the middle, scores 2. Who's on the call? Vin Scully. Giants fan.
Yeah.
Take that, Dodger fans. Your boy's a Giants fan.
Vin Scully on the call for the catch as well.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very good.
So,
all right, anyway.
Bill
Spooner talks to The Athletic, and he says that whole Chris Paul, Scott Foster thing, and for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, they have beef. Like Chris openly spoke about it after a game, after getting teed up by Scott. Said that I was actually confused by it at the time. Something about his son. Like Scott used to say things about Chris Paul's son or something like that. Like he talked about it after a game. It's not really important what he said. The point is they've got beef, and Chris thinks Scott has something out for him. Well, Bill Spooner now says Chris Paul is building a calculated campaign against Scott Foster. Quote, I'm going to tell you, and I know you're recording me, but I get asked all the time, who are some of the tough guys, some of the bad guys? And when I tell them that Chris Paul, in my 32 years in the league, was one of the biggest bleep holes I ever dealt with, they say, not Rasheed Wallace? Or da-da-da? That's part of the quote. Nope, nothing like Paul. And they're like, oh, he seems like such a nice guy. And I say, yeah, he's a great image cultivator. Bill Spooner, end quote. Chris Paul, one of the biggest bleep holes I ever dealt with.
Wow. And
inflammatory.
Yeah, inflammatory, but not completely out of left field. I know that you have talked to people who have dealt with him or been close with him, and you've actually said it on the show before, so I'm not talking out of school, that not everybody looks at Chris Paul and thinks, gee, let me rush out and get some insurance. Isn't he great? You know? And I don't want to defame the company that he represents because they were my insurer for many, many years, and I liked it. But he, as a pitchman and as, Chris and Cliff Paul and all the rest of it, you would think that he was a certain way, but Bill Spooner talking about 32 years in the league, and this guy is one of the biggest, or he was one of the biggest bleep holes ever.
Yep.
That says something.
Well, listen, let me put it this way. This was a piece. I know a lot of people don't care if sports players on their teams are jerks. They just want them to perform well. But this was part of the reaction that you watched when the Warriors acquired Chris Paul. It wasn't just that I didn't love the way that he played. I always want to make my own judgment, so I can't say that Chris is a jerk. I don't know Chris. I've never met Chris. And so I would never say that about someone who I don't know. I'll use my own experience only, and I've had none with Chris Paul. I will share with you that there have been stories where others I know were not terribly fond of Chris, his behavior, his treatment of other people. And I will say that someone I know very well who was around Chris quite a bit referred to him as a master manipulator, both on and off the court. So I think that fits in with the idea of great image cultivator and the idea of being an on-court manipulator. Y'all don't need me to say that. You've seen it. You've seen it. He manipulates the refs by making them think things happened that didn't happen.
And you've got one of the master manipulators still playing in these playoffs, and you're going to watch him do his thing, Luka Doncic.
I didn't say Luka.
Yeah, Luka.
I don't know if he's as good.
James Harden.
Luka's a master complainer. James
he's
Harden,
a master manipulator.
Yeah.
Luka, the way with any contact, he throws his European head back and his limbs all fly akimbo.
With European?
I just was getting, geographical on you a little bit. I didn't want to, to defame him in other ways. But, yeah, he's a master manipulator. James Harden, the same way with the beard.
Yep.
Anytime anyone gets near him. And Trae Young and LeBron James and so many other players. But, yeah, Chris Paul's ability to do that and get away with it has been diminished by the fact that he's not that same player anymore.
Yeah.
You can't be a master manipulator when you're getting 22 minutes a night and you're maybe the seventh most important guy on the floor.
Do you know what's weird? And I want you to stay with me on this before you just take the quote and run to the bank. Like, okay, here's the arc of Chris Paul, the Warrior. He gets acquired. I was not a fan of the idea. Now, you're getting rid of Jordan Poole. Wasn't a fan of Jordan Poole either. So I understood it. But acquiring Chris Paul, for me, you know this, it was tough. The idea of him getting a Warrior jersey, I was not terribly fond of that idea. However, I'm enough of a fan of the team and enough of an interested observer that I could see that Chris played really well this year. Like that went about as well as you could hope, save the injury.
Right.
But when he was playing, he was effective and he took his role without making a fuss. And those were the things we worried about, right? All right. So now flash forward to now. He played well. He played the role. Nothing terrible happened with him as a Warrior. And I still do not want him to be a Warrior again next year. Like, I will openly vote that Chris Paul is not a Warrior again next year. And it's not for personal reasons by any stretch. It's more for contractual. It's more for state of the team. There's two things that they can do with Chris Paul, I think, that would be valued higher than keeping him. The A-level thing would be if there is a way that they can opt in and that the $30 million can be used as salary in a trade to a team that just wants to clear money. That'd be amazing if they could turn him into a young player. But the option B is just opt out and use those financial resources elsewhere. I think both of those are more attractive than having him on the team.
Of course, but what about the idea of him opting out and then returning on a veteran minimum contract?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to get to, because it's not so much the contract. If he's making $2 million a year, if you cut him and nobody wants him, and then after a couple of months, it's like, hey, we could use a backup point guard again. Would you even want him back under those auspices?
Veteran minimum? I guess I'd be somewhat open to him. I have a very hard time believing that he's going to take that.
Of course, but I was just saying in terms of separating the contract from the person, because it was sounding like under any circumstance you wouldn't want him back.
I don't think he makes sense for the Warriors going forward. I really don't. And even though he performed, quote unquote, well for what he does not offer the Warriors what they need. They need to be more athletic. They need to just
younger,
be, for sure. They need to be different. Yep. And I feel, I don't know this, but the Chris Paul we've come to know, or at least our perception of it, and the ego and all of that, you coaching, all of that stuff suggests to me that man's never taking a veteran minimum contract. He's 39 years old. If that's all that's out there for him, he'll say peace out and leave. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, I wonder, because he still is looking for the one thing he hasn't gotten, which is an NBA championship. And I don't even think he's been in the finals, has he?
Nope.
So there are teams out there who I'm sure would love a 20 to 24 minute a night veteran point guard, a guy who can come in and run the second unit. And
that's what I mean. That's why I don't think he's going to take a veteran minimum, because someone's probably going to give him a little bit of money. I would think.
Perhaps, depending on the team. There are teams out there that need a point guard. So, and he still has enough left in him to, go out there and get you 25 minutes a night.
Oh gosh, Grandy's right. Yeah, he did go to the finals one time when the Suns played the Bucks.
Oh yeah, forgot about the Suns.
The Suns.
The Suns, man.
Yeah.
The Suns. Thank you, Grandy.
And then he was hurt on the Rockets team that completely choked their trip to the finals to the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm. That Suns team was up 2-0 in the finals. Yes. And then Giannis racked up 4 in a row.
Yep.
Good call.
He's got a lot of playoff
misery.
Come from ahead losses. The Clippers had it one year too.
Doc Rivers, yeah.
The Clippers absolutely had it and choked a series away. I can't remember if that was the conference finals or the conference semifinals, but either way, Lob City.
Yeah. When you get a minute, read the whole Bill Spooner article in The Athletic. He has a lot of nice, really good things to say about Scott Foster. It's important that you read that.
It's not actually.
It actually is.
So you want me to read an article because a ref said something nice about another ref?
Well, he's explaining why Scott Foster gets these big games. It's because he's a damn good referee. And the league needs him to run these big games because he's one of the only ones who can run the big games.
Understand, I have no argument with the idea that Scott Foster calls a good game. I do have issue with the idea that Scott Foster was not involved with Tim Donaghy. I find it to be absurd.
Yeah, we'll never know.
So
we'll never know.
Or we do, because common sense tells us so.
Well, you can think that.
Yeah, I can.
And,
I can and I do.
Yeah, I think that if the authorities thought as strongly about it, he probably would be behind bars.
Well, I mean, they didn't want 2 fall guys. They wanted 1.